I'm Lisa K. Donner, along with Jeff Charles, James Fight, Andrew Moran, and Sarah Cowgill. And this is the Conservative Five, Liberty Nation's online TV news program. Under a bridge near Del Rio, Texas, thousands of illegal aliens from Haiti are languishing in deplorable conditions. As the activist media finally took notice, the Biden administration is doing its best to spin this one. But by and large, they're getting hammered by Democrats, hammered by progressives, hammered by Republicans, and folks living on the southern border. Okay, pretty much everyone. It's a humanitarian catastrophe and a public relations disaster for the West Wing. What happened? Didn't we have this almost under control? You're a Lone Star State man, Jeff. I know you and our entire panel has been keeping an eye on what's happening and, well, what's not happening. We've got Haitians being airlifted to Port-au-Prince, but others are being taken to parts unknown here in the States. There's also a side circus that the White House has latched onto about border agents whipping immigrants. And now a just released Freedom of Information request from HHS citing sexual and physical abuse of migrant children. Wow. What do you want to tackle first, Mr. Charles?
Yeah, you honestly, there's so much there that it's hard to pick one first, but I'll pick the last thing you said first as far as the abuse of migrant children. Look, we actually knew about this a few months ago, but the thing is the activist media was not making much of a big deal out of it. And now, to their credit, BBC, and I believe it might have been either CBS or ABC, actually got leaked or not leaked documentation, but they actually spoke with people working in the facility at Fort Bliss here in Texas, who told them about the conditions that these unaccompanied minors are living in, and they are abysmal. I mean, you've got some that have been sexually abused. We've got into sexual assault, at least one. But according to the new documentation, it's actually a lot more than that. They're also living in substandard conditions. They complained about being served raw chicken. A lot of them had dealt with lice. So the way the Biden administration is treating these kids is horrible. It's abysmal. And yeah, it is much worse than it was under the Trump administration, which had its own issues as well. So, but here's the thing. A lot of these things don't really come to light because the activist media doesn't really focus as much on it. Those two, when I first heard that first story months ago, those two outlets were the only ones that covered it. And as of now, I'm still not seeing a lot covering this Freedom of Information Act, the documentation that came out. I'm still not seeing a whole lot of them cover the contents of that documentation. So unfortunately, the U.S. government is allowing these children to be abused, and they're not being held accountable for it.
All right, but there sure is a lot of coverage, Andrew, about the Border Patrol supposedly whipping Haitian immigrants.
Yeah, what I find interesting about that imagery is that it's only a few seconds long, and they completely probably blow it out of context. But at the same time, they don't show the other images of those same Border Patrol agents, working with the kids, smiling, joking, laughing with the children. So it's just another blatant mainstream media fabrication. At the same time, though, I mean, you have to give them some credit in the sense that they're going after Vice President Kamala Harris by, for instance, MSNBC's Michelle Rule. She was complaining that, where is she? Why is she so absent on this file? The only time you ever see her on camera is, laughing to a reporter whenever a journalist asks her a question. So the mainstream media is just, once again, they're making fools of themselves on this issue when they should be tackling the root of this issue, which is an economics one, in my opinion. But that's just me trying to justify my position. Right.
Sarah, Gayle King of CBS took on Jen Psaki the other day talking about this issue. And Psaki was sort of taken aback. Like, wow, what are you doing? You're
Stop being mean to me.
You're being aggressive. You're asking me questions.
The media is trying to come around a little bit, but they're also spinning a false narrative. If you ask any equestrian, of which I am, that's not a whip. That's a split rein. And Border Patrol has been trained by this administration, not the last one or the one before. They've been trained now in using horseback patrols, and that's a tactic. They are supposed to use that tactic. It's a non-violent, non-threatening, non-lethal tactic. It's a rein. It's a split rein. It is not a whip. So if people want to continue to spout that nonsense, they're going to go down a rabbit hole really quick with it.
Okay, you brought up something interesting. Yes, you are a equestrian or horsewoman or whatever you want to call it. Can you really whip people with reins?
No, he's probably trying to move his horse, and he's going kind of fast. So the reins are going to be in motion anyway. You communicate through the hands. You don't yank, you don't pull. You communicate with gentle, pressure on the reins. What he was trying to do, the one photo, what the man was trying to do was grab the man's collar to slow him down.
What is the point of the split rein, Sarah?
It's just a different style. A split rein is more of a Western style. A contained, a rope rein, a together rein where you just, have it looped around the neck, and that's more of an English style or a jumping style. A split rein is very Western oriented.
All right. Now, Jim, do you have Haitians showing up in Arkansas?
Not that I'm aware of, not yet. But when the Homeland Security Secretary talked about how the border's closed and we're deporting all these Haitians, they kind of try to sweep under the rug the whole thing about if this is a family unit or unaccompanied minors or anything to that effect. Yeah, they're not getting sent back. They're getting bused and flown into different parts of the states. Luckily, apparently not in my neighborhood a whole lot yet, but who knows? Maybe we're next.
Jeff, did you hear that Mayorkas couldn't come up with the number of people who have crossed into the border to date? He's been asked, and maybe by the time this airs, he'll cough up a number. But what's that about?
I'm actually very surprised to hear that an administration whose officials still couldn't tell how many Americans were left behind in Afghanistan has no idea how many people have come into the country legally or illegally. So yeah, I'm really not shocked by that at all.
Hey, to be fair though, Jeff, does anybody know that number?
Yeah, probably not. So
well, the ones you stop, you just don't know the ones that get through. And the other thing is, and I'm just going to say this: of all of the immigrants seeking asylum, I'm pretty sure Haiti should be at the top of the list.
I think so.
And they're just not doing it correctly.
Yeah, and from what I've read, I've read too, a lot
easier for the government to send them back. It's not fair. It's easier for them to get them on a plane, send them back to Haiti, and let them try to get back over here again. And they deal with the Southern and Central Americans. And it's not fair, because I think Haiti really is an asylum seeking nation right now. And they should be the one people we're not messing around with. Yeah.
And from what I read, a lot of these individuals are refugees from the 2010 earthquake. Like, we forget that just because it happened in 2010 doesn't mean that it still isn't affecting the country now, which has experienced another earthquake. So it is very telling that the administration is treating these Haitian immigrants or migrants differently from how they treated the ones from South and Central America, many or most of which are only coming here for economic reasons and not because they're actually fleeing a type of oppression.
But Andrew, I'm understanding that these people aren't coming directly from Haiti, obviously. They've been languishing in Chile for years and years and years. What was the sudden reason that they all decided to hoof it over now?
Well, Chile is also, it's not an economic paradise. It's also suffering from its own economic problems. But when it comes to Haiti, I think this is just another example of a foreign policy blunder. The United States has spent billions of dollars in aid to Haiti, and where's that money gone to? It's just gone to corrupt officials in Haiti. It's gone to the special interest projects that have occurred there. Just today, there was a resurfaced interview that Joe Biden did in 1994. He said, quote, "If Haiti, a god-awful thing to say, if Haiti just quietly sunk into the Caribbean or rose up 300 feet, it wouldn't matter a whole lot in terms of our interest." And I think that goes to the extent of the fact that a lot of these officials have no clue what goes on outside of the United States. All they know is that they just know how to spend money. Because one of Obama's chief humanitarian targets was Haiti, but that it didn't work. Nothing worked. 10 years later or 20 years after that earthquake, they still haven't rebuilt properly because of how inept these people are. And if I may say one thing that I find also interesting about this Haiti story is that you have people of color fleeing an impoverished and corrupt nation, and they're traveling to the United States. But the left keeps telling me how racist and terrible it is for minorities. So it's truly a testament how so many people, so many minorities still clamor to go to the U.S. despite what Ilhan Omar and AOC say about how god-awful it is.
Yeah, Jeff, Jim, I want to talk a little bit about the rules and regs here. Psaki went over yesterday in a news conference in the White House press briefing, actually. Some of these people are being given one set of documents. In other words, you must appear. And the other ones are getting another set of documents, but those are more likely. And those are like, it's a good idea if you let us know. Are any of the immigration laws really being followed by, just taking these people off a plane and putting them in Maryland and Tampa and Orlando and wherever?
Ultimately, that will remain to be seen. But historically, the answer is no. Generally speaking, once you cut somebody loose in the U.S., I mean, on paper, they may be illegal and, hey, you're supposed to come to court. But I won't name any names, but I personally know people who have been in this country for a very long time and never shown up to court.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff, I'll give you the final word since you started us out.
Well, I mean, this is just part and parcel of the administration's very strange approach to immigration. I mean, they brought back catch and release for a reason. It's just interesting to see how they treat one group of immigrants versus another. I mean, we're talking about Haitians, but we still remember what happened when Cubans wanted to get into the country. They were like, no, you can take your butts back to Cuba. So this administration is not consistent. It's disjointed. It doesn't seem like it really has it together when it comes to dealing with the immigration issue. And who's suffering? The migrants, Americans, Border Patrol, which is stretched thin.
Kids.
Yeah, especially the kids. So this is just an unmitigated disaster. And it's unfortunate because I want to be positive about this, but I don't see this getting better anytime soon under this administration. They don't seem to really care about doing something about this.
Well, the conditions these people are living in, under a bridge, a serious lack of fresh water, sanitary facilities, piles of garbage around. It's about the most un-American situation as you can get. And the word is out now that a caravan of another 20,000 Haitians who've been holed up in Chile are on their way. Looks like things may get a whole lot worse down on the border. Thanks, panel. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform. YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble, we're on them all. As well, Liberty Nation has its own Roku channel where you can see all of our TV productions. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, surf on over to libertynation.com. Sign up for our new member zone, just $29.99 for the year, folks. Special thanks to our fantastic editor and post coordinator, Frank Diorio, and our executive producer, Sarah Cowgill. I'm Lisa K. Donner, editor-in-chief. Thanks for joining us today. This has been a production of libertynation.com. Conservative news, where truth matters.